What up, y'all? This is Tracy.
And Matt.
From Nerd Squish.
Mm.
And today, we have a movie review. So today we will be reviewing The Nun, which is the 5th installment in the Conjureverse.
Conjureverse?
Yeah, I'm calling it that.
That's weird.
Well, the Conjuring
like
Universe, the Conjureverse, I think it works, personally.
So The Nun is the origin story of Valak, which shows up in the second Conjuring movie is the first one it shows up in.
Yep.
And it basically is a demon who does demon-like things to people and takes form of a nun. It's scary as shit.
So first, we're going to talk about all the things that we liked about this movie. There was a lot to like. I'm just saying. One of the things that I first foremost stood out in my mind was the set design and/or gothic scenery in this film.
Felt very much like a Dracula movie with no Dracula.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool.
I loved it. Like all that, like the castles and the foggy graveyards and all that. I felt like I was in a Universal movie and I was living for it. I felt it.
Another thing that I really dug about this movie, which I thought was a really good thing, was the cast. I thought the cast worked very well. Specifically, the comedy relief. Frenchie, that dude was amazing. Because the movie was very scary at sometimes, but also kind of slow. But this guy, Frenchie, was the comic relief, and I thought that really brought a lot to the movie.
Speaking of the cast, one of my absolute favorite things about the cast of this movie is Thaisa Farmiga being the lead. I absolutely...
Can we talk about how crazy her name is?
Yeah, I'm not 100% positive that I said that name right. Let's go with it. Y'all know who I'm talking about. But I love... But I loved her because I've loved her in American Horror Story, and her sister. The fact that her sister is playing Lorraine Warren in the main Conjuring movies, and her, I just loved that. Hoping there's gonna be a tie-in in that somewhere. We'll see.
Speaking of tie-ins, without giving too many spoilers away, they do confirm a direct tie-in with this movie with the other movies. You'll see.
Alright, so now we go into our dislikes for The Nun. The one that kind of stuck out the most to me, obviously, is indeed the lack of Ed and Lorraine Warren, because without them, what is the Conjureverse? You love that, don't you?
Stupid.
You know what I'm saying. They are the reason that those movies work. And even though I love Annabelle Creation and I like this movie, that's the one complaint I have with them.
I disagree. I think the reason those movies work are the way that they're filmed, and they don't use they take jump scares and they don't overuse them, but they introduce them in the way that they should be. And a lot of things are very filming. You can almost count to the T when the jumps are coming. I think they're work because of the way they're filmed.
For sure. When I say the reason the movies work, that's one of the many reasons. I love these movies. The Conjuring 1 and 2 are some of my favorite horror movies, or just movies in general, which is crazy to say because they're so new, I know that's some people will look down on me for that, but there's just so many reasons these movies are fantastic, and they are man, you put in some work. Another thing, I don't know if I'd necessarily say this is a dislike, but just a thought, but why do we need an origin story on Valak?
What do you mean, why do you need an origin story on Valak? That's the whole reason this movie exists.
I know that, but I liked the movie, but at the same time, I think the reason that, the reason that she's so, that a lot of these villains are terrifying is the fact that you don't fully know who they are and why they are who they are. You just know they're scary. A lot of times, these villains, you get an origin story, or not even if it's a villain, a character. You like this character, you get an origin story, and you're like, I didn't even know all that. Just kind of makes it silly.
I disagree. All right, so this is my thing with this movie is that the whole reason this movie exists is because of Valak, right? And they're showing you more about Valak and how Valak came to be. Kind of spoilery, but you had to figure the movie is called The Nun, based off the demon that took form of a nun in the other previous movie. So if you think that's a spoiler, shut up. I will say some of the things that I disliked about this movie was that they dove a little too far into some of that stuff, and they used a lot of CGI that didn't really go over well. They had some cheap scares that were related to the CGI. I think they overused some things, specifically things from one of the main characters, the father's past. I don't remember the priest's name.
Oh, Father Burke.
Father Burke. Yeah, they overused some of that stuff. If you watch the movie, you'll get what I'm saying. That being said, I still enjoyed the movie from front to back. I just think that the CGI was a little over the top and used when they couldn't figure out anything else.
I totally agree. I mean, one of the reasons that I like The Conjuring is that a lot of their effects are very practical. I mean, obviously they have CGI to assist. It's kind of like that Jurassic Park deal.
Because the things that make the movie work are that they are filmed.
That's probably not legible.
I don't even know what you just said.
Because of the way it's
like
filmed.
Spinning on my arm.
No, it's because of the way it's filmed.
Because of the way it's filmed. Well, it's kind of like those, you watch Jurassic Park and it's like, okay, we have CGI, we have practical, but it's this perfect little blending together to where they look real. They don't get outdated looking, in other words. You're not going to look at it in 20 years and say, well, clearly the CGI wasn't up to par. This movie, 20 years, we're probably going to see that because we have a little bit more CGI, which I find is funny because in Conjuring 1 and Conjuring 2, they don't have a whole lot of it. But in all these other like spin-offs in the Conjuring universe, they have more CGI than the main stories, which is weird.
So overall, what are our thoughts on the movie? I think we may have varying opinions. They may be similar. I thought the movie was very good. I liked that it took place outside of what the other Conjuring movies were, which is basically somebody's house with some weird little creepy things going. This felt more, like I said, on the lines of something more gothic and Dracula-like, with being inside of an abbey. That's where it all takes place for the most part. Spoiler, not. I enjoyed it. Like I said, the only thing that I wish they would take back on was a little bit some of the cheap CGI scares. Aside from that, I think it was a good movie.
I agree. I think that overall, watch it. I loved it. It was amazing. The scenery, like you said, is just, it's amazing. I'm obsessed with it. I love that you brought up that fact, that I love the fact that all these Conjuring movies, they're always in a house. It's always a family with a house. I mean, maybe not so much Annabelle creation because it was like, all these kids from the orphanage or whatever. But I like the idea that we're just not in a haunted house. We're actually, we're in a haunted abbey, but, whatever. It's cool. It's different. It's refreshing. I dug it. Go watch it.
The next installment of the Conjuring verse, or Conjureverse, whatever the hell you said, is not that bad. Go check it out. You let us know in the comments below what you think.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for subscribing. If you haven't done some shit, click some stuff and it'll be good.
Yeah! Thank you guys for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already so you can see more ridiculous reviews just like this in the future. Bye, y'all.